Hello, this is Mr. Chabry. We are here with another narrated Pokemon battle. This is actually going to be an underused match against Sharpedo VGC. And the Pokemon I really want to use in this one is actually going to be Empoleon. I haven't used Empoleon enough, I feel like, and I want to get some use out of it. I've also brought the Haxorus, and I actually do like Haxorus. It's a really cool Pokemon. It can break through Levitate with an Earthquake. I'm going to lead with Darmanitan here, as my opponent leads out with the Zeraora. And first turn, I don't want to get surprised by a Scarfed Zeraora, so I'm actually just going to hard switch into my Chesnaught here. Chesnaught should be able to take anything Zeraora goes for, because Chesnaught is such a bulky mon. But we see the knockoff. I don't know as of yet if that's actually Scarfed or not, but I didn't want to risk it. Here, I'm actually just going to go for a Leech Seed. This thing is not going to stay in on my Chesnaught, and we see the Rotom come in. So we get this thing seeded. However, I don't really have much I can do to it. I could Drain Punch it. However, an Overheat's going to do more to me than I can even heal up with a Drain Punch. So I'm just going to Spiky Shield here just to see what it would go for. We do see the Overheat, and that also gives me some, residual health here. So I'm basically back at full. So now I'm going to go ahead, switch out, and we're actually going to go into the Empoleon. The main reason I'm going into Empoleon is I'm predicting an Overheat, and I'm thinking Empoleon should be able to take that, and then this thing would have reduced special attack. However, my opponent switches it up this turn and goes for the Will-O-Wisp. So that would have actually been pretty bad if that got on Chesnaught. However, Empoleon, it doesn't bother it that bad because Empoleon is a special attacker, and we're going to get some health back with that Leech Seed. So here, I'm actually going to do sort of a risky play. I'm actually just going to go for a Toxic. I'm really banking on Empoleon taking a Thunderbolt. However, my opponent's actually going to go ahead and switch into the Feraligatr here. So we're going to Toxic this thing, and that's actually not the worst thing because this thing is often a setup Pokemon, and I don't want it to set up a Dragon Dance and then sweep my entire team. So looking at that, it's not the worst thing. However, I would rather had a Toxic on that Rotom. I'm going to go into Chesnaught. I think Chesnaught should be able to 1v1 this thing very nicely. And instead of going for a Dragon Dance, my opponent's going to go ahead and go for a Brick Break here to get some residual damage. That would have done some decent damage on my Empoleon, but Chesnaught is a very bulky Pokemon, and it's not going to do that much. Here my opponent's going to go ahead, switch back into the Rotom, and this turn I'm actually going to go ahead and start setting up some spikes. I think having some sort of damage when my opponent switches in would be very great. So that's what we're going to do, and then I just go Spiky Shield to see what this Rotom wants to do. Of course, it's probably going to go ahead and, Overheat, but it actually shows Defog, so we do see that this thing has Defog. So I'm fairly certain that my opponent's just going to go for a Defog here. So I'm going to go into my Empoleon, and I'm hoping I can maybe Toxic this thing or something like that. I could even Scald and try to get some damage on it to weaken it down. It's going to go ahead and get rid of my spikes. That's not a big thing because I can always bring back my Chesnaught and get the spikes back up once again. But really, I'm really banking on Empoleon taking a T-Bolt from this thing. That's what I'm really banking on. But we see my opponent doesn't go for a T-Bolt, so part of me is thinking maybe there is no T-Bolt on that one. I actually just wanted to go into Empoleon just to see if there was an electric move. But yeah, we're going to go into this because I was predicting a T-Bolt. But since my opponent hasn't went for it, maybe this is a weird Rotom set. I'm going to go ahead and Mega Evolve here. Get the Intimidate, and that should be able to allow us to take a hit from this thing. And we're going to see the Close Combat. And that does quite a bit of damage, but really we take that very well with that Intimidate. And with that stat drop from the Close Combat, I can go for a Flamethrower, and that will do a huge chunk of damage to Zeraora. Zeraora is not going to stay in. It's going to switch out. Actually, I did not want to stay in on this thing either, so I went ahead and switched out. And I actually decided to go back into my Chesnaught. Chesnaught is really a good switch-in on Zeraora. There's not much that Zeraora can do, but now we have this thing here. And the thing about Guzzlord is it's got so many options that can go for. So I want to see what it's going to go for, and it actually goes for a Sludge Bomb. I don't care about that because this Chesnaught actually has the bulletproof ability, meaning it's not going to take any damage from Sludge Bombs. So I'm just going to stay in and go for a Drain Punch. My opponent actually switches it up and goes for a Heavy Slam this turn, probably realizing that I'm not going to switch out, and I just go for a Drain Punch, and unfortunately it's not enough to finish off the Guzzlord. We do even get a crit there, so that's actually pretty nice. We do see the Sludge Bomb again, but thanks to Chesnaught's bulletproof, we're not taking any damage from that. So I actually feel really safe against this thing because we've seen Sludge Bomb, Heavy Slam. I don't think this thing can really touch us, and I'm going to go ahead and just go for a Leech Seed. The main reason is I know whatever I go for next will take this thing out. However, if I go Leech Seed and my opponent does switch, I can at least get a seed on it. And this is actually what I was predicting my opponent to switch into, this Gengar. However, I don't want to take a hit from this thing. This thing could do a lot of damage if it's got certain moves. So I'm actually going to go ahead and switch into my Empoleon. Empoleon is my special defensive mon. So with this, we should be able to handle a hit from this thing. But we do see the Gengar go for a Destiny Bond, meaning, yeah, I don't really want to just go on the offensive against this thing because it could be a problem. I'm going to go ahead, go for some Stealth Rocks. I think that's going to be very helpful. We could go back and get some spikes up later too, but I want to go ahead and get these rocks up, and the main reason is because that Rotom is still there. Rocks is such a good thing to have in single battles. We're going to see another Dark Pulse here, and unfortunately we're going to flinch, but the good thing is my opponent did not go for that Destiny Bond. Of course, if my opponent does go for that Destiny Bond and I do take it out, we lose Empoleon. But my opponent's actually just switching it up, and here I'm going to go ahead, go for a Scald, wanting to see how much damage we can do, and we don't do quite enough damage to take it out. We do get the burn and we do get the crit. However, my opponent will activate that Cursed Body ability, and that means we're not going to be able to go for a Scald. And we do see that the Gengar actually has the eject button, which is actually very cool. That's actually very interesting. We're going to see the Zeraora hop back in, and of course Zeraora could easily take out Empoleon here. But I do have a really good switch against this thing, and that is the Chesnaught, of course. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go into the Chesnaught, and we're going to see this thing go for the Plasma Fist. So if you don't know, Plasma Fist is like Zeraora's signature move. It's an electric type, and it also changes the battlefield to where normal type moves become electric type. So that's actually pretty interesting too. We're going to see the Zeraora switch out, and we're going to actually see the Florges switch in. So Florges, there's not really much my Chesnaught can do. The only thing really my Chesnaught could do is go for the Leech Seed on it, and seed it. That's really it. But this Florges could easily wipe out my Chesnaught with like a Moonblast or something like that. So I do not want to stay in here. What I want to do is actually go into my Scizor. And actually, I'm wanting to set up my Scizor here because I think that would be really nice. We're going to take a Psychic. However, it's not going to do much to our Scizor. And with the Leech Seed, we're going to start getting a little bit of our health back. So Scizor looks like it's going to be a very strong Pokemon here. My opponent's going to go ahead and switch out, go into the Oven Power, and of course, Oven Power is going to be a huge problem for my Scizor. I went ahead and went for a Swords Dance. However, looking at it, I probably shouldn't have done that because, yeah, this Rotom's clearly going to come in, take a Bullet Punch. I can't break through it with my Scizor. However, I'm going to actually just stay in, and my opponent's just going to go for a Will-O-Wisp. So unfortunately now Scizor is burned, and the thing is, Scizor, I really wanted to get a sweep with it. I'm going to Superpower here for some chip damage. Of course, the Will-O-Wisp is going to make it where that doesn't do that much damage. So yeah, we're going to have to break through this thing if Scizor was going to get the sweep, but after the burn, I don't think Scizor is really going to do much for us. So I want to actually go into Darmanitan here because now I'm predicting an Overheat. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to take the Overheat. Darmanitan takes it like a champ. We are ready for Darmanitan to get some knockouts. So this is actually a Scarfed Darmanitan. And the thing about Darmanitan is it has really good attack power. A lot of people don't realize how strong this thing can hit. So now my opponent's going to go ahead, switch into the Feraligatr. I'm just going to Flare Blitz. Flare Blitz would have done a lot of damage to that Rotom. As you see here, it actually does a lot of damage to Feraligatr, and Feraligator's already a pretty good defensive Pokemon. It's got good bulk, that is. I'm just going to continue with my Flare Blitz. Feraligator's not going to live another one, and it will go down. So right here, I think my Darmanitan is ready for a sweep. So now my opponent's going to go into the Zeraora here. Of course, it's going to take some of those rock damage. However, I'm just going to stay in. I have no reason to switch out. And we do end up outspeeding Zeraora. We will take it out with a Flare Blitz. So there goes the Zeraora. Darmanitan's looking very good right now. So now Oven Power is going to come back in. The Rotom. It's going to take a ton of damage from those rocks. And I have no reason not to click Flare Blitz. There's no way that this thing's going to live that. Goodbye, Rotom Heat. So now Darmanitan, I don't think there's much that can come in and weather a Flare Blitz from Darmanitan. Not even this Florges. Florges is usually known for having good special defense, not so great defense. I'm just going to Flare Blitz, and we're going to hit this thing really hard, and even get a crit. I'm not totally sure the crit mattered. It's a Darmanitan, and Darmanitan's a very strong Pokemon. So now my opponent sends out the Gengar, and of course those rocks are still up. The rocks will take care of Gengar. So we got ourselves a beautiful Darmanitan sweep right there. So good game, Sharpedo VGC. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Pokemon video.